The Dictator in the Spider Hole: How the U.S. Captured Hussein and Made Iraq Miserable. Do you love vintage vibes and untold stories? Then you're in the right place. Here on Sam Tells All, I dive into the most iconic moments of the past. Subscribe now and keep the history alive with me. 20 years ago, U.S. forces and their allies officially announced the capture of Baghdad. However, despite the fall of the capital, the military operation was far from over. Somewhere still at large was the country's leader, Saddam Hussein, who was allegedly in possession of chemical weapons. News.ru looks back on how Western forces spent 8 months hunting down the main dictator of the Middle East. The hunt for Hussein. When U.S. troops entered Baghdad on April 9, 2003, Saddam Hussein, who had ruled Iraq since 1979, went into hiding. From the underground, he recorded and distributed messages urging the Iraqi people to resist the occupiers. The U.S. and its allies launched a massive manhunt, deploying thousands of soldiers and intelligence agents to search for Saddam. They conducted raids across the city, questioned local residents, and searched homes and open spaces one by one. A $25 million reward was announced for information leading to Hussein's capture, prompting numerous claims from people across the country who claimed to have seen him or knew his whereabouts. Hussein constantly moved from one hideout to another, relying on a small circle of loyal supporters who provided him with food, water, and temporary shelter. After months of unsuccessful attempts to locate the dictator, U.S. forces decided to change their tactics. Large-scale raids were replaced with targeted operations focused on identifying Hussein's inner circle and supporters who might know his location. Who betrayed Hussein? The man who ultimately tracked down the fugitive was a soldier and a member of the Delta Force Special Operations Group under the U.S. Joint Special Operations Command. His name was Eric Maddox. In his autobiography, Maddox revealed that when he first arrived in Iraq in the summer of 2003, he had no idea how to proceed. Maddox began by interrogating hundreds of detainees arrested by U.S. forces during the invasion. Through these interviews, he learned more about Hussein's inner circle and gradually identified individuals who might have information about his whereabouts. According to Maddox, he avoided using physical force or threats during interrogations, instead engaging his subjects with offers of mutually beneficial deals. After months of work, Maddox finally tracked down Mohammed al-Moslet, one of Hussein's closest bodyguards, nicknamed Fat Man. Al-Moslet agreed to reveal Hussein's location after U.S. forces promised full protection for him and 40 members of his family. However, Maddox admitted that the U.S. failed to fulfill its part of the deal. What was the spider hole prepared for Hussein? It was revealed that Hussein was hiding in a small agricultural complex near the village of Al-Dor in the Tikrit area, home to members of the Iraqi leader's tribe. Hussein's former driver from the village, Ala Namek, whom he had known since the 1950s, helped him hide. Hussein's lawyer, Khalil al-Dulami, claimed that it was Namek who ultimately betrayed the Iraqi leader to the Americans. But Namek, who still lives near Tikrit, denies this. Years later, Namek told the Washington Post that when Hussein arrived in the village, he warned the residents that helping him could result in punishment or torture by the Americans. But according to our tribal Arab traditions and Islamic customs, we cannot refuse help to someone in need, Namek said. According to the former driver, Hussein knew that he would eventually be captured and likely executed, but he continued to hold on and send messages urging resistance. Most of the time, the Iraqi leader spent reading books, writing prose, and composing poetry. When lookouts spotted anything suspicious, Hussein would retreat into the hideout Namek had prepared for him. The shelter, later dubbed the Spider Hole, was a 2-meter deep pit with an air pipe extending to the surface for ventilation. The hole was only large enough for one person. To be continued. In the second part, I'll cover topics such as how Hussein was found and what he said to his captors, how Hussein was executed, and what changed in Iraq after Hussein's execution. Stay tuned for the next episode. What do you know about Saddam Hussein? Do you consider him a dictator? Share your thoughts in the comments.